I'm Bob O'Brien. Welcome to mywealth.com. Welcome to the blog for the day, How Warren Buffett Affects the Stock Market. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with Warren Buffett. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world, a long-time great investor. Some people consider him the greatest investor of all times, and he is incredibly wealthy from his investing. And I want to talk to you today about how he affects the market, and not just by when he buys a stock. Of course, he's a big investor. He buys a stock. He bids up the price of a stock just by his sheer buying it, but also about his overall effect on the psychology of the market. Because sometimes he can be very, people listen to him passively, and he can be very easily misinterpreted. And I really believe that some of his teachings, because he has so much influence, he influences influencers, that some of his teachings have really led to some of the bubbles that we've seen. Maybe not in the real estate bubble so much, but the stock market bubble, specifically being that he is a stock market investor.
If you're picking this up on YouTube, make certain that you check out the written blog at www.mywealth.com/blog. If you listen to Warren Buffett today, you would really think that he is eternally optimistic about the economy and the stock market. Now, what Buffett is really optimistic about right now is the long-term outlook of the economy. And, you want to take a step back from that for a second. You really want to ask yourself, who really isn't optimistic about 10 or 20 years from now? That financially that they'll be in better shape, this economic crisis will be over, and things will be worked through. Investors should always be cautiously optimistic, just like Buffett, about the long-term outlook of the market and the economy, but they should never be taken for granted either. This long-term optimism about the long term, about things in the long term, really leads to sometimes a short term and medium term euphoria, which leads to asset bubbles. And we've seen this in the real estate market and, of course, twice in the stock market in just the last 10 to 15 years. Investors should never be locked into long-term optimism about an investment, whether it be the stock market or the real estate market. They really always need to question the medium term and short term in order to make better investment decisions. These are the type of things we go through in our course in a lot more detail, so you definitely want to check those out. Don't wait. Get educated. Take control of your investing. Get to www.mywealth.com.
And just so I'm not taking Warren Buffett out of context, if you really go back and you listen to some of his videos and articles and so forth from a couple of years ago, say before the economic crisis, he was really, when things seemed okay on the surface in the economy and the markets, he was a lot more pessimistic, and now he's more optimistic. And this really ties into his whole theory, is to be greedy when everyone else is fearful, and fearful when everyone else is greedy. More of a contrarian approach. We all want to have a little bit of a contrarian inside of us when we're investing. And the other more important point is that even if you're just a 401k investor or whatever the case may be, it all ties into the fact that you need to take a look at the medium and short-term trends of the market. You can't just rely on the long term, because obviously, you didn't do too well over the last couple of years as a long-term investor. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be a long-term investor, but you'd be a better long-term investor if you're looking at the shorter and medium-term trends and staying more on top of things. And that's exactly what we help you do in our Investing 101 course. So you definitely want to check that out. It's incredibly affordable. You see videos like this, and we really go through things in great detail and make certain that you really grasp the whole information. Because you could buy a 1,000-page book on investing, you might not understand half of it. This isn't 1,000 pages. It's more of a video course, so you really get to understand everything that's in the course and take that with you. And you literally take a PDF book with you. So I look forward to seeing you in our Investing 101 course.